Hello, friend. I am Tyson, and tonight I will be your guide on a journey not outward to the stars, but inward, into the quiet, rhythmic stillness of the natural world. We often look up at the night sky to find our place in the cosmos, marveling at the vast, silent drift of galaxies and the slow, burning churn of nebulae. But there is a universe of wonder right here, beneath our feet, hidden within the hollows of ancient trees and buried deep under the winter snow. It is a universe of pause, of waiting, and of the profound restorative art of hibernation. Tonight, we are going to explore 100 soothing facts about this biological miracle. But before we begin, I invite you to find your own stillness. Adjust your pillow until it feels like a perfect cloud supporting the heavy, precious weight of your head. Pull your blanket up, letting it settle over you like the atmosphere settles over the earth, a protective, warming layer shielding you from the cold vacuum of the worry and the noise of the day. Let your arms rest by your sides, heavy and loose. Let your legs extend, relaxing into the mattress. Feel gravity, that ancient, universal force gently pulling you down, anchoring you to this moment, to this bed, to this spinning planet. Take a deep breath in, expanding your lungs like the rising tide, and release it, slowly, letting the air drift out like a receding wave. With every breath, feel the tension dissolving, your muscles loosening, your eyelids growing heavy, so heavy that keeping them open feels like lifting a great weight. You are safe here, you are warm, and you are ready to drift. Let us begin our story not with biology, but with geometry. The reason for the winter, the reason for the cold that drives animals into their long sleep, lies in the tilt of our planet. Earth does not spin perfectly upright. It is tipped on its axis at an angle of 23.5 degrees. This tilt is the conductor of the seasons. As we orbit the sun, the northern hemisphere tilts away from our star, causing the sun's rays to hit us at a shallow angle, spreading their energy thin across the curve of the world. The days grow short, the shadows lengthen. The heat of the summer radiates out into space, and the air grows crisp and cold. This is the cosmic clock that signals to every living thing that it is time to slow down. It is a signal written in the light and the temperature, a command from the solar system itself. And nature responds. As the chaos of the growing season fades, a great hush falls over the land. This is not an end, but a pause, a deep, metabolic breath held in anticipation of the spring. And just as the earth slows its activity, cooling and quieting, you too can feel your own rhythms slowing down to match the planet. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens. You are entering your own nightly hibernation, a time for repair, for dreaming, for peace. Now, let us turn our curiosity to the science of this stillness. Fact number 1 invites us to define what hibernation actually is. We often think of it simply as a long nap, a deep sleep that lasts for months. But biologically, hibernation is something far more profound than sleep. Sleep is a state where the brain remains active, cycling through stages, dreaming, processing. Hibernation is a state of suspended animation, a radical slowing of the machinery of life itself. It is closer to a meditative trance than a nightly snooze. The scientific term for this is metabolic depression. Imagine a bustling city at night, where all the lights are turned off, the traffic stops, and the hum of electricity drops to a barely audible whisper. That is the body of a hibernator. Fact number 2 teaches us about the spectrum of stillness. Not all winter rests are created equal. There is a hierarchy of slowing down. At the lighter end, we have something called torpor. Torpor is a temporary state, a short-term hibernation that can last just a few hours or a few days. It is a quick dip into energy conservation. Consider the hummingbird. During the day, it is a creature of frantic energy, its heart beating over 1,000 times per minute, its wings a blur of motion. But at night, to To survive without constant food, the hummingbird enters torpor. It perches on a branch, fluffs its feathers, and drops its body temperature dramatically. It becomes stiff and unresponsive, a tiny jewel frozen in the dark. This is a daily mini hibernation, a strategy to survive the cool night until the sun warms the air and the flowers open once again. Fact number 3 brings us to the deep hibernators, the true masters of the pause. These are the animals that disappear for weeks or months at a time. The physiological changes they undergo are staggering. Their body temperature can drop to match the ambient temperature of their burrow, sometimes hovering just a degree or two above freezing. Their heart rates plummet. A ground squirrel, whose heart normally ticks away at 200 beats per minute, might slow its pulse to just 3 or 4 beats per minute in deep hibernation. Thump, silence, 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 thump. It is a rhythm of extreme patience, a heart that beats only enough to keep the spark of life glowing, like a single ember in a pile of ash. Fact number 4 introduces us to a beautiful word, estivation. We associate hibernation with winter, with snow and ice. But in the hottest parts of the world, where the sun scorches the earth and water vanishes, animals must also sleep to survive. This summer sleep is called estivation. It is the mirror image of hibernation. Instead of escaping the cold, these creatures are escaping the heat and the drought. Think of the desert tortoise, retreating into a cool, dark burrow to wait out the blazing midsummer sun. Or the lungfish in Africa, which buries itself in the mud of a drying riverbed. It secretes a mucus cocoon around its body, which hardens to seal in moisture. Inside this casing, the lungfish can sleep for years, waiting for the rains to return and soften the earth. It is a suspended animation born of fire rather than ice, yet the peace is the same. The stillness is the same. As we drift deeper into this concept of metabolic silence, let us visualize the chemistry of the body slowing down. Fact number 5 explores the role of adenosine. In our own brains, this molecule builds up while we are awake, creating the pressure for sleep. In hibernators, the brain chemistry shifts to protect the neurons. The brain cools. The electrical storms of thought and sensation quiet down. It is a protective mode, shielding the delicate structures of the mind from the stress of oxygen deprivation and cold. It is as if the animal wraps its consciousness in a warm, thick blanket, tucking it away safely until the world is ready for it again. Fact number 6 takes us to the cellular level. Inside every cell in your body, there are tiny power plants called mitochondria. They take the food you eat and the oxygen you breathe and turn it into energy. In a hibernating animal, these power plants throttle down. They become more efficient, leaking less energy. The entire cellular factory goes into a maintenance mode. This is why hibernation is considered a key to longevity. By slowing down the burn of life, these animals reduce the wear and tear on their bodies. It is a lesson in the value of rest. By taking time to stop, to truly stop, we preserve ourselves. We extend our vitality. Let us focus now on the sensation of this cooling. Imagine the air in your room is the cool, crisp air of a late autumn evening. It is fresh and clean. It feels good against your skin, contrasted by the warmth of your covers. This temperature drop is a signal. Fact number 7 reveals that for many hibernators, the trigger to enter their den is not just the lack of food, but the shortening of the day and the cooling of the air. It is a synchronization with the cosmos. The photoperiod, the amount of light in 24 hours, is detected by the eyes and signaled to the pineal gland in the brain, which produces melatonin. You might know melatonin as a supplement to help you sleep, but in the wild, it is the hormone of the seasons, the chemical messenger that says the time for activity is over, the time for rest has begun. Fact number 8 concerns the preparation. Long before the first snowflake falls, the hibernator begins to prepare. This is a time of hyperphagia, a period of excessive eating. Bears, groundhogs, and squirrels gorge themselves on nuts, berries, and seeds. They are building a reserve, a layer of fat that will serve as their fuel source through the long winter. This fat is not just energy, It is insulation. It is a warm coat worn under the skin. Imagine the comfort of having everything you need right with you. You do not need to get up. You do not need to search. You have enough. You are enough. You can simply let go and trust that your body has the resources to carry you through the night. Fact number 9 brings us to the architecture of the sleep. Where does one go to hibernate? The choice of a den is critical. It must be hidden, safe from predators, and stable in temperature. Some animals, like the chipmunk, build elaborate underground tunnel systems. These are not just holes in the ground, they are multi-room mansions. There is a sleeping chamber, lined with dried grass and leaves for warmth. There is a pantry, stocked with seeds for midwinter snacks. There is even a separate latrine chamber to keep the living quarters clean. It is a cozy, self-contained world sealed off from the howling winds above. Imagine yourself in such a space, safe, enclosed, surrounded by the earthy scent of dry leaves and the comforting dark. Fact number 10 looks at the social side of hibernation. While we often think of the solitary bear in a cave, some animals hibernate in groups.
The alpine marmot, a large squirrel that lives in the high mountains of Europe, hibernates in family groups. They retreat into their deep burrows and huddle together in a great pile of fur. This cuddling is a survival strategy. By pressing their bodies together, they share warmth, reducing the energy each individual needs to spend to stay alive. The parents often warm the younger ones, a beautiful act of familial care that lasts through the darkest months. Imagine the comfort of that connection, the shared warmth, the collective heartbeat of a family sleeping through the storm. As we move to fact 11, let us consider the breath. In deep torpor, breathing becomes incredibly shallow and infrequent. A turtle hibernating at the bottom of a frozen pond may not take a breath of air for weeks. Instead, it absorbs oxygen from the water directly through its skin and the lining of its throat. It becomes one with the water, dissolving the barrier between the self and the environment. For the mammalian hibernators, the breath may slow to one inhalation every few minutes. Breathe in and hold it, and let it go. And then a long, long pause. In that pause, there is no panic, only peace. The body is satisfied with less. It needs less. It simply is. Fact number 12 is about the waking. Emerging from hibernation is a slow, intense process. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to restart the cold engine of the body. The animal begins to shiver violently, not from cold, but to generate heat. Brown fat, a special type of tissue located around the heart and shoulders, acts like a heating pad, burning rapidly to warm the vital organs first. The heart rate accelerates, pumping warm blood to the brain. It is a rebirth, a sunrise within the body. But for now, we are not concerned with the waking. We are traveling down into the sleep, down into the quiet, down into the conservation of energy. Let the concept of conservation settle over you. In our modern world, we are obsessed with spending money, spending time, spending energy. But nature teaches us the wisdom of saving. Hibernation is the ultimate act of thrift. It is the wisdom of knowing when to withdraw, when to become small and quiet so that you can survive to flourish again. There is no shame in rest. There is no failure in doing nothing. In fact, doing nothing is sometimes the most productive thing you can do. It is the act that makes all future action possible. Fact 13 explores the genetic roots of this behavior. Scientists have found that the genes for hibernation are not unique to bears or squirrels. They are ancient genes, present in the DNA of almost all mammals, including humans. They are simply switched off in us, dormant, like a sleeping potential. This suggests that the capacity for deep, regenerative rest is part of our heritage. We are built to rest. When you feel the urge to sleep, you are answering an ancient call, a biological imperative that connects you to the badger in its set and the bat in its cave. Fact 14 brings us to the incredible woodchuck, also known as the groundhog. This famous predictor of spring is a true hibernator. During the summer, a woodchuck is a solitary, grumpy creature, constantly chewing on gardens. But in winter, it becomes a ball of peaceful fur. It curls into a tight sphere, nose to tail, to minimize surface area and heat loss. Its body temperature drops from 99 degrees Fahrenheit to just 37 degrees. It is cold to the touch. If you were to hold a hibernating woodchuck, it would feel like a stone taken from a river in autumn, cool, solid, and still. Fact 15 touches on the dreamscape. Do hibernating animals dream? It is a question that fascinates biologists. We know that sleep has cycles, including REM sleep where dreaming occurs. In deep hibernation, because the brain is so cold, electrical activity is almost flat. It is unlikely they dream in the way we do, with narratives and images. But periods of arousal occur, where the animal warms up slightly without waking. In these moments, the brain sparks with activity. Perhaps they have slow, drifting sensations, the memory of the taste of clover, the feeling of the sun on their back. Or perhaps it is a dreamless void, a pure, restorative blankness, a black velvet silence that heals the mind completely. Fact 16 is about the heart. We mentioned the slowing pulse, but let's appreciate the strength of the muscle. The heart of a hibernator undergoes changes to prevent atrophy. Even though it beats rarely, it remains strong. It is a lesson in efficiency. It does not need to race to be effective. A slow, steady rhythm is enough to sustain life. Can you feel your heart now? Locate that gentle thrum in your chest. Visualize it slowing down, matching the pace of the hibernating bear. Thump, rest, thump, rest. There is no rush. You have all night. Fact 17 concerns the silence of the gut.
During hibernation, the digestive system completely shuts down. The stomach and intestines shrink. This is a profound biological fast. The energy that is usually used for digestion, which is a significant amount, is redirected to maintenance and immune function. The body cleanses itself. It is a period of deep cellular housekeeping. By entering this state, the animal is purified. Fact 18 takes us to the insect world. How do fragile insects survive the freezing winter? Some, like the woolly bear caterpillar, produce a natural antifreeze in their blood. This substance, glycerol, prevents ice crystals from forming inside their cells, which would destroy them. The caterpillar can freeze solid, turning into a little ice cube, and yet the cells inside remain intact, suspended in a sugary, protective syrup. When spring comes, they thaw out and continue on their way. It is a miracle of chemistry, a defiance of the freezing point. Fact 19 discusses the snail. Snails seal themselves into their shells with a layer of dried mucus called an epiphragmum. It looks like a parchment door closing off the entrance to their spiral home. Behind this door, the snail remains moist and safe, stuck to a wall or buried in leaf litter. They can stay this way for months. Imagine retreating into your own shell, closing the door, and knowing that nothing can disturb your peace. You are contained. You are secure. Fact 20 brings us back to the mammals, specifically the badger. Badgers are not true deep hibernators like the ground squirrel, but they enter a state of seasonal torpor. They may wake up on warm winter days to stretch or snack. This teaches us that rest does not have to be rigid. It can be flexible. You can rise to the surface of consciousness, adjust your pillow, take a sip of water, and then dive back down. The cycle of rest is forgiving. As we reach Fact 21, let us visualize the blanket of snow that covers the hibernator's world. Snow is often thought of as cold, but it is actually an excellent insulator. Fresh, fluffy snow is largely trapped air. A thick layer of snow acts like a down comforter for the earth. The temperature underneath the snow, at the soil level, can be many degrees warmer than the air above. This subnivean zone is a hidden kingdom where small mammals like mice and voles remain active, tunneling through the grass, protected from the wind and the predators by a roof of white crystal. It is a secret world, warm and hushed, existing right under our feet. Fact 22 focuses on the bear, the most famous sleeper of them all. Bears are unique. Their body temperature does not drop as drastically as the ground squirrels. It stays relatively high, perhaps dropping only 10 degrees. This allows them to wake up quickly if threatened.
Yet their metabolic rate drops by 75%. They do not eat, drink, or pass waste for months. They recycle their own waste products into protein to maintain their muscle mass. It is a closed-loop system of incredible efficiency. The bear becomes a self-sustaining universe, needing nothing from the outside world. Fact 23 invites you to imagine the bear's den. It is often dug under the roots of a great fallen tree or into the side of a hill. The entrance is narrow to keep out the wind. Inside, the bear has dragged in boughs of evergreen, moss, and leaves to create a soft, springy mattress. The air smells of pine resin and earth. The bear curls up, its nose tucked into its belly fur, its breathing slow and rhythmic. The wind may howl outside, snapping branches and driving snow against the trunks of the trees, but inside the den there is only warmth and the sound of slow, deep breathing. Fact 24 is about the dwarf lemur of Madagascar. This is the only primate known to hibernate. Most primates, like monkeys and humans, stay active year-round. But the fat-tailed dwarf lemur, a small creature with large, soulful eyes, stores fat in its tail until it looks like a sausage. During the dry season, it retreats into a hollow tree hole and hibernates for 7 months. It shows us that even our closest relatives in the animal kingdom have this capacity for deep pause. It is not so far removed from us. Fact 25 explores the concept of social hibernation in humans. While we do not biologically hibernate, cultures around the world have practiced a form of winter slowing. In the days before electricity, people in northern climates would spend much of the winter in bed, sleeping for long stretches, telling stories, and conserving energy. The Russian peasants had a word for this, lotskia. They would huddle around the stove, sleeping nearly all day. It was a time of shared dreams and communal rest. We have lost this rhythm in our 24-hour lit world, but our bodies remember it. We crave it. Fact 26 touches on the ladybug. These familiar red and black beetles gather in huge clusters to hibernate.
You might find thousands of them tucked into a crevice in a rock or under the siding of a house. They aggregate to share moisture and heat. It is a crimson tide of sleep. When they wake in the spring, they disperse to the gardens. But for the winter, they are a collective, a single dormant entity made of thousands of tiny lives. Fact 27 brings us to the jumping mouse. This tiny rodent, with its long tail and kangaroo-like legs, is a profound sleeper. It enters hibernation in late September and may not emerge until May. That is more than half the year spent in sleep. Imagine that. Imagine simply skipping the cold, dark, Humbre months and waking up only when the world is green and full of food. It is the ultimate optimization of life. Spend your time only when the living is good. Fact 28 concerns the brain protection mechanisms. During the cooling of hibernation, the connections between neurons, called synapses, actually retract. The brain disconnects from itself slightly. It creates a state of minimal electrical noise. When the animal warms up, these connections rapidly regrow, restoring memory and function. It is like unplugging a complex machine to let it cool down completely, knowing that you can plug it back in and it will work better than before. Fact 29 is about the silence of the soundscape. Winter is the quietest season. The leaves are gone, so they do not rustle. The birds have migrated or are silent. The snow absorbs sound waves, dampening the acoustics of the forest. A hibernating animal sleeps in a world that is acoustically cushioned. Think of how peaceful it is when it snows at night, how the usual hum of the neighborhood vanishes. That profound silence is the soundtrack of hibernation. Fact 30 brings us to the concept of longevity again. Animals that hibernate tend to live longer than similarly sized animals that do not. The bat, for example, can live for 30 years, while a mouse of the same size lives only 2 or 3. Hibernation buys time. By stepping out of the fast lane of metabolism, by spending months in the slow lane of torpor, these animals stretch their lifespan. They sip at life instead of gulping it. As we move into the 30s, Fact 31 asks us to consider the turtle again. Some aquatic turtles hibernate in mud at the bottom of ponds where the water freezes over. The oxygen levels in the water can drop to near zero. To survive, the turtle switches its metabolism to anaerobic respiration, generating energy without oxygen. This causes a buildup of lactic acid in their shells, which they buffer with calcium.
They essentially turn their shells into a chemical battery to survive the winter. It is a slow, chemical endurance, a mastery of internal balance. Fact 32, the porwheel. This is a bird found in North America, and it is the only bird species known to truly hibernate. The Hopi people call it holchoco, which means the sleeping one. While other birds migrate thousands of miles to escape the cold, the porwheel simply finds a pile of rocks, tucks its head under its wing, and goes to sleep. It chooses stillness over the arduous journey of flight. Sometimes the bravest journey is the one inward. Fact 33 reminds us of the plants. They hibernate too. We call it dormancy. The sap in the trees descends to the roots deep underground where the soil does not freeze. The leaves fall to reduce water loss. The tree stands like a skeleton against the sky, seemingly dead, but inside the life force is huddled in the dark warmth of the earth, waiting. The tree trusts that the sun will return. It does not struggle to keep its leaves when the season requires them to fall. It lets go. Fact 34 takes us to the echidna of Australia. This spiny anteater enters deep torpor, and sometimes, during its hibernation, it is completely submerged in water during floods or covered in charred debris during bushfires. Its slow state protects it. It can survive disasters that would kill an active animal because its oxygen needs are so low. Its stillness is its shield. Fact 35 brings us back to you. Feel the stillness in your own limbs now. Your legs are heavy logs sinking into the mattress. Your arms are resting ropes. Your neck is loose. You are entering a state of low energy, a state of preservation. You do not need to solve any problems right now. You do not need to plan for tomorrow. You are in the winter of your day. The harvest is done. The storehouse is full. It is time to rest. Fact 36 explores the Arctic woolly bear moth. This creature lives in the high Arctic and spends most of its life as a caterpillar. Because the summers are so short, it cannot eat enough to grow into a moth in 1 year. It hibernates for up to 7 winters before it finally pupates. It spends nearly its entire life in a frozen state, waking only for a few weeks each year to eat.
It is a life of extreme patience, a testament to the slow, steady accumulation of resources. Fact 37. The waking triggers. What wakes a hibernator? It is usually heat. As the ground warms, the warmth penetrates the den. The animal feels the change in the thermal gradient. It is a gentle alarm clock. There is no jarring buzzer, just the slow, creeping warmth of the sun saying, "Come back, it is time." Fact 38. The fat reserves. We spoke of brown fat, but there is also white fat. White fat is the fuel tank. During hibernation, the animal metabolizes this fat, turning it into water and energy. Yes, water. Metabolic water is produced when fat is broken down. This is how hibernators survive without drinking. They carry their own oasis within them. Fact 39. The heartbeat of the wood frog. We mentioned it freezes, but let's look at the heart. When the wood frog freezes, its heart stops completely. There is no electrical activity, no pulse. For all intents and purposes, it appears dead. But as soon as it thaws, the heart spontaneously restarts. It picks up the rhythm exactly where it left off. The spark of life is tenacious. It can hide in the silence, waiting to ignite again. Fact 40 brings us to the bees. Honeybees do not hibernate individually. The colony hibernates as a superorganism. They form a tight ball inside the hive, with the queen in the center. The worker bees vibrate their wing muscles without moving their wings to generate heat. They constantly rotate, moving from the cold outer edge of the ball to the warm center and back again. It is a slow, churning dance of warmth. They survive by taking turns, by sharing the burden of the cold. As we approach the halfway point of our 100 facts, let yourself sink deeper. The facts are becoming like gently falling snow, accumulating in your mind, soft and white and muffling the world. You are drifting. You are floating in the safe, dark burrow of your bed. Fact 41. The mourning cloak butterfly. While most butterflies migrate or die in winter, the mourning cloak finds a hollow tree or a shed and hibernates as an adult.
It folds its wings, which look like dead leaves, and becomes invisible. It is one of the first butterflies to be seen in spring, often flying while snow is still on the ground. It carries the beauty of the summer through the heart of the winter. Fact 42. The snail's heartbeat. During estivation, a snail's heart rate can drop to just a few beats per minute. But more amazingly, the oxygen consumption of its cells drops to nearly zero. It enters a state called anoxybiosis. It can survive without oxygen for days. It essentially stops breathing and exists in a biochemical stasis. Fact 43. The garter snake ball. In Manitoba, Canada, thousands of red-sided garter snakes hibernate together in limestone caverns. They form massive, tangled piles. This is the largest gathering of snakes in the world. They sleep in a heap of scales and slow pulses deep beneath the frost line. Fact 44. The sleep of the fish. Many fish, like carp and catfish, sink to the bottom of lakes in winter. They do not hibernate in the full sense, but they enter a state of low activity. They stop eating. They hover near the mud, moving only enough to keep water flowing over their gills. They become shadows in the deep, dark water. Fact 45. The physiological drop. In the Arctic ground squirrel, the body temperature can drop to 27 degrees Fahrenheit. That is below the freezing point of water. Their blood does not freeze because they purge it of any tiny particles that ice could crystallize around. They exist in a supercooled state, a liquid that defies physics. Fact 46. The immune system. During hibernation, the immune system essentially turns off. The body stops fighting bacteria or viruses. It is too energetically expensive. But interestingly, the cold itself prevents most infections from taking hold. The pathogens are also asleep. It is a truce between the host and the invader, a ceasefire called by the cold. Fact 47. The healing. Despite the immune shutdown, some studies suggest that hibernation can arrest the progress of diseases. Injuries that would be fatal in an active animal seem to go on pause. When the animal wakes, the healing process resumes with vigor. The pause allows the body to reset. Fact 48. The alpine newt. This amphibian spends up to 8 months of the year on land, hiding under logs and stones in a state of dormancy, and only 4 months in the water breeding. It spends twice as much time asleep as it does awake. And yet, it is successful. It thrives. It reminds us that productivity is not the only measure of success. Survival is success. Peace is success. Fact 49. The bear's pregnancy. Female black bears give birth during hibernation. The cubs are born in the darkness of the den, tiny and hairless. The mother, still in a semi-hibernative state, nurses them with rich milk while she sleeps. She nurtures new life from her own reserves, all without waking up fully. It is a miracle of motherhood and metabolism. Fact 50. Halfway through our journey, we have explored the den, the ice, the cell, and the stars. You are now deep in the hibernation cycle. Your body is heavy, your mind is quiet. The world outside has faded away. There is only this voice and the comfort of the dark. Let us drift further now into the realm of the minuscule. Fact 51 takes us to the microscopic tardigrade, or water bear. These tiny 8-legged creatures are the champions of suspended animation. They can enter a state called cryptobiosis. They curl up into a dry ball called a ton. In this state, they can survive extreme cold, extreme heat, radiation, and even the vacuum of space. They can stay in this dried-out, suspended state for decades. When you add a drop of water, they rehydrate and walk away as if nothing happened. They teach us that life is incredibly resilient, that it can endure almost anything by simply knowing how to pause. Fact 52. The smell of the den. Researchers who study bears describe the scent of a winter den not as foul, but as musky and earthy. It smells of the animal, of clean fur, of dry grass. It is a primal, comforting scent. Imagine that scent now, warm, organic, safe. Fact 53. The slowing of time. To a hibernating animal, time means nothing. The months of winter, which seem so long to us, likely pass in a blink. Without consciousness, without the marking of days, time collapses. They close their eyes in November and open them in April, and to them it was just a long, peaceful night. Sleep is a time machine. Fact 54. The nutrient recycling. We spoke of bears, but many hibernators have efficient kidneys that can reabsorb nutrients from urine, recycling them back into the blood to preserve salt and water balance. The body becomes a perfect ecosystem, wasting nothing. Fact 55. The hamster. The common European hamster is a hibernator. In the wild, it builds complex burrows. But even pet hamsters, if the room gets too cold, can slip into torpor. Their owners sometimes think they have passed away, only to find them warming up and moving again when held. It is a reminder that the wild instincts are still there, even in our domestic companions. Fact 56. The rhythm of the brainwaves. In deep hibernation, the brainwaves are delta waves, slow, high-amplitude waves that are associated with deep, dreamless sleep in humans. These are the waves of healing. Your brain is likely producing them right now as you listen, slow rolling waves of relaxation washing over the shores of your mind. Fact 57. The raccoon. Raccoons are not true hibernators, but they are deep sleepers. They may sleep for weeks at a time during cold snaps, curling up in hollow trees. They rely on fat stores, losing up to 50% of their body weight. They are the opportunists of the sleep world, sleeping when they must, waking when they can. Fact 58. The skunk. Like raccoons, skunks enter a state of torpor. They often den together to share warmth. Females will den in groups of up to a dozen, while males tend to be more solitary. Even the skunk, with its potent defense, seeks the comfort of others in the cold. Fact 59. The chemical trigger in the blood. Scientists have taken blood from a hibernating ground squirrel and injected it into an active one in summer. The active squirrel immediately went to sleep. There is a hibernation induction trigger, a chemical signal circulating in the blood that commands the body to rest. It flows through the veins like a liquid lullaby. Fact 60. The silence of the snowshoe hare. This animal does not hibernate. It stays active. But it changes its fur from brown to pure white to blend in with the snow. It reminds us that if you cannot hibernate, you must adapt. You must change your outer self to match the stillness of the world. Fact 61. The metabolic rate of the hummingbird, revisited. We mentioned their torpor. During this state, their oxygen consumption drops by 98%. If a human's oxygen consumption dropped that much, we would not survive. But the hummingbird floats on the edge of life, a master of energy efficiency. Fact 62. The fat-tailed dunnart. This small Australian marsupial uses torpor not just for cold, but when food is scarce. It teaches us that rest is a response to scarcity. When the world doesn't give you what you need, you look inward. You slow down. You wait for better times. Fact 63. The warming earth. As spring approaches, the earth itself begins to wake up. The microbial life in the soil becomes active, generating a tiny amount of heat. The roots of plants begin to take up water. The hibernator senses this shift. The world is preparing a welcome for them.
Fact 64. The bat's cave. Bats require very specific conditions for hibernation: high humidity to prevent dehydration, and a constant cool temperature. They hang upside down, wrapped in their leathery wings. This posture requires no energy. Their talons lock into place automatically. They can hang without muscle tension. Imagine being able to relax so completely that you are held in place by gravity and geometry alone, using no effort to stay where you are. Fact 65. The connection to meditation. The state of hibernation, low breath rate, low heart rate, low brain activity,
mimics the deepest states of meditation achieved by human monks. These monks can voluntarily lower their metabolism. It suggests that hibernation is a state of consciousness, or lack thereof, that we can touch the edges of. Fact 66. The safety of the burrow. Most hibernators die not from freezing, but from running out of energy before spring, or from predators finding them. But for those who dig deep and eat well, the burrow is the safest place on earth. It is a sanctuary. Visualize your bedroom as your sanctuary. The door is locked. The world is outside. You are safe. Fact 67. The alpine marmot's whistle. Before they hibernate, marmots communicate with high-pitched whistles. But once they enter the burrow, they are silent for 6 months. The social chatter ends. The silence begins. It is a vow of silence kept by the entire colony. Fact 68. The antifreeze proteins in fish. Arctic cod produce proteins that bind to ice crystals in their blood and stop them from growing. They swim in water that is colder than the freezing point of blood, protected by these tiny molecular guardians. Fact 69. The dormancy of seeds. Seeds are the ultimate hibernators. A seed can sit in dry soil for years, sometimes centuries, waiting for the right conditions. It holds the potential of a giant tree inside a tiny, hard shell. It waits with infinite patience. You too are like a seed right now, resting in the dark, gathering strength for your own growth. Fact 70. The slowing of the universe. Entropy states that the universe itself is slowly winding down, moving towards a state of equilibrium. Hibernation is a microcosm of this. It is a temporary equilibrium, a balance point between life and death, energy and matter. Fact 71. The prehistoric hibernators. Paleontologists have found evidence that dinosaurs may have hibernated. Fossils of certain creatures show growth rings in their bones, similar to tree rings, indicating periods of arrested growth during long winters. The art of hibernation is millions of years old. It is a survival strategy tested by time. Fact 72. The human potential. Scientists are studying hibernation to help humans travel to Mars. If we could induce a state of torpor in astronauts, they would need less food, less oxygen, and less space. They would sleep through the 6-month journey and wake up fresh on the red planet. We are looking to the bear and the squirrel to teach us how to reach the stars. Fact 73. The lemur's tail again. The fat-tailed dwarf lemur can quadruple its body weight before hibernation. Imagine the feeling of being that nourished, that full, that prepared. There is no hunger, there is only satisfaction. Fact 74. The arousal cycles. Most hibernators wake up every few weeks for a few hours. Why? Some scientists think it is to sleep. Yes, to sleep. Hibernation is not sleep. They may wake up from hibernation just to enter REM sleep, to dream, and then go back to hibernation. It suggests that dreaming is biologically essential, even more so than saving energy. Fact 75. The quiet. Let us return to the sensation of quiet. Listen to the room around you, the hum of the refrigerator, the settling of the house, the wind outside. These are the sounds of safety. Let them drift into the background. Let them become part of the silence. Fact 76. The darkness. Darkness is necessary for hibernation. It triggers the production of melatonin. Do not fear the dark. It is a blanket. It is a canvas for your dreams. It is the condition for rest. Fact 78. The badger's messy den. Unlike the chipmunk, the badger does not keep a tidy house. But it is warm, it is lined with grass, it is deep. It does not have to be perfect to be restful. You do not have to be perfect to rest. Fact 79. The metabolic water. We mentioned this, but think of it again. The body creates water from fat. It is alchemy. You have everything you need inside you. You are self-contained. Fact 80. The spring emergence. When the animals wake, they are often thin and hungry, but they are alive. They have survived the bottleneck of the year. The feeling of the first sun on their backs must be ecstatic. But that is for later.
For now, the job is to sleep. Fact 80. The depth. We are 80 facts deep. You are deep in the story.
Deep in the relaxation. Your breathing is slow. Your heart is steady. You are drifting. Fact 81 through 100 are the silent facts. They are the facts that do not need words. They are the feeling of the heavy blanket, the coolness of the pillow, the darkness behind your eyelids, the slow, steady rhythm of your own life. The bear sleeps, the frog freezes, the bat hangs, the seed waits, and you drift, you float, you rest. There is nothing more to do. The science is simple. Rest is life. Silence is strength. Darkness is peace. Sleep now, my friend. The stars are turning overhead. The earth is holding you. The winter is long, but the den is warm. Good night. Hello, friend. I am Neil Tyson, and tonight we continue our journey into the quietest corners of the natural world. We have already dipped our toes into the concept of the great winter pause, but now we are going to descend deeper. We are going to travel past the surface level of sleep and into the profound, scientific, and poetic depths of hibernation. We will explore the precise architecture of the burrow, the biochemical alchemy of the bear, and the suspended animation of the smallest hearts in the forest. So, once again, I invite you to find your comfortable place. Let your body sink into the mattress, just as the ground squirrel sinks into its nest of dried grass. Pull the covers up to your chin, creating your own microclimate, your own den of warmth and safety. Let the darkness of the room wrap around you, not as an emptiness, but as a presence, a soft velvet blanket that shields you from the light and the noise of the turning world. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply, filling your lungs with the cool, imaginary air of a pristine winter night. And exhale, letting your breath carry away the tension, the worry, and the weight of the day. You are safe. You are still. You are ready to listen. We begin our deeper exploration with the science of stillness. We often use the word hibernation loosely to mean any kind of long sleep. But to a biologist, to the scientists who study the rhythms of life, the distinctions are precise and fascinating. Fact number 1 in this chapter defines the difference between sleep and torpor. Sleep, the kind you are drifting into now, is a complex neurological state. Your brain is active. It is sorting memories, repairing cells, and dreaming. But torpor is something else entirely. Torpor is a physiological state where the body's thermostat is turned down. It is a calculated surrender to the cold. Consider the hummingbird. This tiny jewel of a bird, with feathers like iridescent sequins, lives life at a frantic pace. Its heart beats 1,200 times a minute while it hovers at a flower. It burns energy so fast that it is always just a few hours away from starvation. At night, it cannot afford to keep its internal fire burning at full blast. So, it enters a state of daily torpor. It finds a branch, fluffs its feathers to trap a layer of air, and simply shuts down. Its body temperature drops from a feverish 104 degrees Fahrenheit to match the cool night air, perhaps 60 degrees or lower. Its heart slows to a fraction of its daytime rate. If you were to find a torpid hummingbird on a branch, you might think it had perished. It is stiff, cold, and unresponsive. But this is not death. It is a temporary suspension of life, a bridge across the dangerous gap of the dark. When the sun rises and the air warms, the hummingbird shivers violently, generating heat, and within minutes it is airborne again, a blur of motion. This is the daily hibernation, a strategy of short-term survival. But true hibernation, the deep winter sleep, is a marathon. It is torpor stretched out over weeks and months. It is a profound metabolic depression. Fact number 2 brings us to the Q10 effect. In chemistry, the rate of a reaction drops by half for every 10-degree drop in temperature. This is a law of thermodynamics. For small hibernators like the chipmunk or the ground squirrel, allowing their body temperature to plummet to near freezing is a way to exploit this law. By becoming cold, their chemistry slows down. They do not need to work to suppress their metabolism. The cold does it for them. They become creatures of the ice, their biological clocks ticking so slowly that time itself seems to stop. However, there is a third state, one that mirrors hibernation but happens in the heat. This is fact number 3, estivation. In the baking deserts of the world, or the drying mudflats of Africa, animals must escape not the cold, but the heat and the drought. The African lungfish is the master of this art. When the river dries up, the lungfish does not flop about in panic. It burrows down into the mud while it is still soft. It writhes and turns, creating a flask-shaped chamber. Then it does something truly miraculous. It secretes a special mucus from its skin.
This is not just slime. Recent science tells us this cocoon is a living tissue, filled with immune cells that trap bacteria and protect the fish from infection. The mucus dries into a parchment-like shell, a waterproof sleeping bag that seals the fish inside. A small tube connects its mouth to the surface so it can breathe air. Inside this cocoon, the lungfish can sleep for years. Its metabolic rate drops to 1/60th of its normal level. It breaks down its own muscle tissue for energy, yet remains healthy. When the rains finally return, water dissolves the cocoon, and the fish emerges, thin but alive, ready to swim again. It is a story of survival written in mud and mucus, a testament to the tenacity of life. Now, let us shift our focus from the physiology to the architects. Let us walk into the deep woods where the snow lies heavy on the hemlocks and the wind whispers through the bare branches of the maples. Here, the great mammals are sleeping. We often think of the bear as the ultimate hibernator, and indeed, the black bear is a biological marvel. Fact number 4 reveals that bears are super hibernators, but not in the way you might think. Unlike the ground squirrel, the bear does not let its body temperature drop to near freezing. A bear's body is too large. To cool down a massive 500-pound body would take too long, and to warm it back up would require an immense amount of energy. Instead, the bear maintains a body temperature of about 88 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, only a few degrees below normal. It is warm to the touch. Snow melts if it falls on a sleeping bear's fur. Yet, despite this warmth, the bear's metabolic rate drops by 75%. This is a paradox that has puzzled scientists for decades. How can an animal stay warm but burn so little fuel? The answer lies in active metabolic suppression. The bear's cells decouple the burning of fuel from the production of heat. They become incredibly efficient. And perhaps the most astounding fact about bear hibernation is their waste management. Fact number 5. A hibernating bear does not eat, drink, urinate, or defecate for 5 to 7 months. In a human or most other animals, the buildup of urea, a waste product of protein breakdown, would be fatal within days. It would poison the blood. But the bear is an alchemist. Inside the bear's body, the urea is not excreted. Instead, it is transported to the gut where special bacteria break it down to ammonia and carbon dioxide. The ammonia is then reabsorbed into the blood and transported to the liver where it is used to build new amino acids. These amino acids are then used to build new proteins. The bear is literally recycling its own waste into new muscle. While a human on bed rest would lose significant muscle mass, a hibernating bear emerges from the den with its muscle strength largely intact. It is a closed-loop system of perfection, a biological recycling plant that allows the bear to survive solely on its fat reserves without poisoning itself. Let us visualize the bear's den. Fact number 6 takes us into the architecture of the black bear's winter home. It is often much smaller than you would imagine. A bear does not want a spacious cavern. It wants a cozy, tight space that traps body heat. The den might be a hollow dug under the upturned roots of a fallen cedar tree, or a natural cavity in a rock face. The entrance is often just big enough for the bear to squeeze through,
minimizing the opening to the cold wind. Inside, the bear has prepared a bed. It scrapes together boughs of balsam fir, dried bracken ferns, and moss. It arranges them into a cup-shaped nest. This is not just for comfort. The vegetation provides insulation between the bear and the frozen ground. Imagine the smell of that den, the sharp, clean smell of crushed pine needles, the musky warmth of the bear's fur, the damp, earthy aroma of the soil. It is a sensory cocoon, dark, quiet, and safe. Fact number 7 introduces us to the most surprising event in the den, birth. It is in the dead of winter, in late January, that the female black bear gives birth to her cubs. They are tiny, weighing less than a pound, hairless and blind. The mother is only semi-awake. She rouses enough to clean them and tuck them against her warm underbelly, but she does not fully leave her hibernation state. She nurses them with milk that is incredibly rich in fat, produced from her own body stores. The cubs grow rapidly in the darkness, fueled by the mother's sleeping sacrifice. It is a scene of profound intimacy, new life beginning in the deepest quiet of the year, sheltered from the biting cold by the massive, warm presence of the mother. Now, let us leave the bear's den and look down at the ground, to the rolling fields and the edges of the forest. Here lives the true engineer of the underground, the groundhog, also known as the woodchuck.
Fact number 8 tells us that the groundhog is a master excavator. Its scientific name, Marmota monax, means the digger, and dig it does. A groundhog's burrow is not just a hole, it is a mansion. The main tunnel can be up to 60 feet long and extends below the frost line, the depth at which the ground freezes. This ensures that the temperature inside the burrow remains stable, usually between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, even when the air above is 20 degrees below zero. The architecture is specific and purposeful. Fact number 9 describes the layout. There is a porch, the mound of dirt at the main entrance where the groundhog likes to sit and survey its domain in the summer. But there are other entrances, secret spy holes or plunge holes. These are dug from below, so there is no pile of dirt to give them away on the surface. They are sheer, vertical shafts that drop straight down into the tunnel system, allowing the groundhog to vanish instantly if a predator approaches. Inside, there are separate rooms. There is a bedroom, lined with dried grass, situated at the highest point of the tunnel to prevent flooding during heavy rains. There is a nursery for the babies. And most remarkably, there is a dedicated latrine chamber. The groundhog is a fastidious animal. It deposits its waste in this specific room, and when the room is full, it seals it off with packed earth and digs a new one. It is a level of sanitation and planning that rivals human civil engineering. Fact number 10 brings us to the groundhog's deep sleep. Unlike the bear, the groundhog is a true deep hibernator. In late autumn, triggered by the shortening days, it retreats to its bedroom. It curls into a tight ball, nose to tail. Its heart rate, which normally ticks along at 80 beats per minute, slows to a mere 4 or 5 beats per minute. Its body temperature drops to roughly 40 degrees. If you were to see a hibernating groundhog, you would see it take a breath only once every 6 minutes. It looks like a furry stone. It is in this state that it passes the winter, burning through the thick layer of white fat it accumulated during the clover-rich days of summer. Moving along the hedgerow, we find the badger. Fact number 11 explores the badger's winter strategy. Badgers are powerful diggers, with claws like chisels and strong wedge-shaped heads. But they are not true hibernators in the same sense as the groundhog. They enter a state of winter lethargy. They accumulate fat and they retreat into their extensive burrows, called setts. A badger sett is an ancestral home, often used by generations of badgers for decades or even centuries. Some setts have dozens of entrances and miles of tunnels. In the winter, the badger slows down. It may sleep for days or weeks at a time, its body temperature dropping slightly to conserve energy. But on a mild winter night, when the moon is full and the snow is melting, the badger may wake up. It might emerge to sniff the air, to stretch its legs, perhaps to dig for a sleeping mouse or a frozen beetle.
It reminds us that hibernation is a spectrum, and there is room for the restless sleeper, the one who wakes to check on the world before returning to the warmth. Fact number 12 is a heartwarming detail about community. While badgers are often solitary, in the bitter cold of winter they have been known to share their dens, not just with other badgers, but sometimes with other species. There are accounts of skunks and badgers, normally in different neighbors, curling up in the same burrow system to share warmth. The skunk, too, enters a state of torpor, and in the face of the overwhelming cold, the need for thermal survival overrides territorial instincts. It is a winter truce, a huddle of fur against the freeze. Let us pause for a moment to appreciate the sensory experience of these underground worlds. Imagine the absolute darkness. There is no light in the groundhog's burrow, 20 feet from the entrance. There is no sound of the wind. The only sound is the slow, rhythmic beat of a heart. Thump, and then a long silence. Thump. The smell is of dry grass and cool, damp earth, a grounding, heavy scent that smells of safety. The temperature is cool, but constant. It is a world removed from time. Up above, storms may range, ice may shatter branches, blizzards may bury the landscape in white drifts. But down here in the embrace of the earth, everything is stable. Everything is calm. It is the ultimate sanctuary. Now let us turn our gaze to the smaller lives, the ones that do not have thick fur or deep burrows. Fact number 13 introduces us to the wood frog. This is perhaps the most miraculous of all hibernators. The wood frog lives in the forests of North America, often far north into the Arctic Circle. It does not dig deep. It spends the winter nestled under a layer of wet leaves on the forest floor. This offers little protection from the freezing air.
When the temperature drops below 32 degrees, the wood frog does something that defies logic. It freezes solid. Ice crystals begin to form under its skin. They fill its abdominal cavity. They surround its organs. Its eyes turn white and freeze opaque. Its heart stops beating. Its brain activity ceases. To all appearances, the frog is a block of ice, a dead thing. But it is not dead. Fact number 14 explains the chemistry of this resurrection. Before it freezes, the wood frog's liver pumps massive amounts of glucose, sugar, into its blood. This sugar acts as a cryoprotectant, a natural antifreeze. It packs inside the cells, preventing the water within them from crystallizing. If ice formed inside the cells, the sharp crystals would puncture the delicate membranes and kill the frog. But the sugar keeps the ice on the outside of the cells. The frog becomes a hard, frozen pebble, with its cells preserved in a syrupy, sugary suspension. It can stay this way for months. When spring comes and the warm rain falls, the frog thaws from the inside out. The heart spontaneously starts beating again, first a flutter, then a rhythm. The frog gulps air, stretches its legs, and hops away to the nearest pond to find a mate. It is a creature that visits death every winter and returns to tell the tale. Fact number 15 takes us to the frozen pond itself. What of the turtles? Painted turtles and snapping turtles breathe air. They have lungs. Yet they spend the winter at the bottom of the pond, often under a layer of ice that seals them off from the surface. How do they breathe? The answer lies in their incredible adaptability. In the cold water, their metabolism drops so low that their need for oxygen is minimal. But they still need some. They have evolved a way to absorb oxygen directly from the water through the lining of their throat and, surprisingly, through their cloaca, their rear end. This is called cloacal respiration. As the winter wears on, the oxygen in the pond may be used up. The turtle then switches to anaerobic metabolism, generating energy without oxygen. This produces lactic acid, which causes muscle burn in humans. But the turtle has a secret weapon, its shell. The shell releases calcium carbonates that neutralize the acid, buffering the turtle's blood and allowing it to survive in an oxygen-free world for months. It is a chemical balancing act of the highest order. Fact number 16 brings us to the insect world. The woolly bear caterpillar, with its fuzzy bands of black and rust, is a familiar sight in autumn. It is searching for a place to sleep. Like the wood frog, the woolly bear produces a cryoprotectant, but instead of sugar, it often uses glycerol, an alcohol. This allows it to survive temperatures as low as 90 degrees below zero. The woolly bear can spend up to 14 years in this larval stage in the high Arctic, freezing and thawing each year, eating for only a few weeks in the summer, before finally having gathered enough energy to spin a cocoon and become the Isabella tiger moth. It is a lesson in patience, a life spent largely in the pause, waiting for the brief moments of activity. Fact number 17 explores the morning cloak butterfly. Most butterflies, like the monarch, migrate to escape the cold. But the morning cloak stays. It finds a crevice in a rock, a hollow in a tree, or an unheated shed. It folds its wings, which resemble charred wood or dead leaves on the underside, and becomes invisible. It produces sorbitol in its blood to prevent freezing. On the first warm days of spring, while snow patches still linger on the ground, you might see this butterfly flitting through the woods. It is one of the first signs of life, a survivor that stayed to face the winter head-on. As we drift deeper into this narrative, let us consider the sensation of cooling down. Imagine your own body as a landscape. The busy cities of your thoughts are dimming their lights. The traffic of your nerves is slowing down. The factories of your muscles are closing for the night. You are entering a state of preservation. You are conserving your energy, storing it up for the morning. Fact number 18 brings us back to the concept of the hibernation induction trigger, or HIT. Scientists have long searched for the signal that tells the body to sleep. In experiments with ground squirrels, they found that if they took blood from a hibernating squirrel and injected it into an active squirrel in the middle of summer, the active squirrel would curl up and go to sleep. There is a chemical messenger, a molecule circulating in the blood that carries the command, rest. It flows through the veins like a liquid lullaby. It suggests that the capacity to hibernate is not just a decision, but a biological destiny, a song sung by the blood itself. Fact number 19 looks at the brain during this long sleep. We mentioned that brain waves slow down.
In deep hibernation, the brain enters a state that looks very different from normal sleep. The neurons, the brain cells, actually shrink. The connections between them, the synapses, retract. It is as if the brain is unplugging its own telephone lines to save energy. The chatter stops, the noise ceases. But here is the miracle. Within hours of waking up, as the body warms, the neurons swell back to their normal size, and the connections reconnect. The memories return. The skills return. The brain rebuilds itself, fresh and new. This synaptic retraction is a profound reset, a way of clearing the clutter and preserving the essential structures of the mind. Fact number 20 focuses on the heart. The heart of a hibernator is a masterpiece of resilience. In a ground squirrel, the heart rate drops from 300 beats per minute to 3. But it is not just a slow beat, it is a different kind of beat. The electrical signal that triggers the heartbeat changes path. The heart becomes resistant to arrhythmia. In a human, if the heart gets too cold, it goes into fibrillation, a chaotic, quivering spasm. But the hibernator's heart maintains a steady, strong, slow rhythm even at temperatures close to freezing. It pumps thick, cold blood with a determination that keeps the spark of life glowing. Thump, wait, 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 thump. It is the drumbeat of perseverance. Fact number 21 touches on the immune system. During hibernation, the immune system effectively shuts down. The body stops producing white blood cells. It stops hunting for invaders. This might seem dangerous, but the cold itself is a sterilizing force. Bacteria and viruses also slow down or go dormant in the cold. It is a ceasefire. The war between host and pathogen is put on hold. And interestingly, some studies suggest that hibernation can halt the progression of cancer or other diseases. The cells simply stop dividing. The disease cannot grow if the host is in pause. It is a state of biological neutrality. Let us return to the sensory experience of the den. Fact number 22 invites you to imagine the soundscape of the winter world from the inside. Snow is an acoustic insulator. Fresh, fluffy snow is up to 90% trapped air. A thick blanket of snow absorbs sound waves.
For the animal in the sub-Nivean zone, the space between the ground and the snow, the world is incredibly quiet. The howling wind above is muffled to a distant hum. The footsteps of a predator are dampened. It is a hushed world, a library of silence where the only task is to rest. Fact number 23 explores the social hibernation of the alpine marmot. We touched on this, but let's go deeper. These large squirrels live in family groups. When winter comes, they retreat to a single large burrow. They build a massive nest of dried grass. Then they pile in. The parents, the yearlings, and the babies all huddle together in a great ball of fur. They synchronize their sleep cycles. They wake up together and go back to sleep together. This social thermoregulation is vital. The parents effectively act as heaters for the smaller young, who might not have enough fat reserves to survive on their own. The winter survival of the young depends entirely on the warmth of the family. It is a beautiful reminder that even in the deepest isolation, we often need each other to survive the cold. Fact number 24 concerns the jumping mouse. This tiny creature, with a tail longer than its body, is a champion sleeper. It enters hibernation in late September or early October, and it may not emerge until May. That is more than half the year spent in sleep. It curls up so tightly that it looks like a fuzzy tennis ball. It tucks its nose into its belly and wraps its long tail around its entire body, creating a perfect sphere. This shape minimizes surface area, reducing heat loss. Geometry is a survival skill. Fact number 25 brings us to the concept of the arousal. Hibernation is not one continuous sleep. Every few weeks, the animal warms up. It shivers, its temperature rises to normal, it might move around, pee, or simply sleep a normal sleep for a few hours. Then it drops back down. Why? Scientists are still debating this. Some think the animal wakes up to sleep. That is, to experience REM sleep, which cannot happen at low temperatures. The brain needs to dream to maintain its health. So the animal wakes up from hibernation, has a few intense dreams to organize its neural networks, and then goes back to the deep freeze. It suggests that dreaming is so essential to life that we will spend precious energy just to make space for it. Fact number 26 is about the ladybug. You might find them in your own house, clustered in the corner of a window frame. In the wild, they gather in the thousands in rock crevices. They aggregate. This massing behavior creates a microenvironment. The collective moisture and heat of thousands of tiny bodies creates a stable pocket of survival. They are a collective organism in the winter, a red and black tide of dormancy. Fact number 27 takes us to the snail. We spoke of the lungfish cocoon, but the garden snail makes a door. It secretes a layer of mucus across the opening of its shell, which hardens into a structure called an epiphragm. It is a temporary lid. It has a tiny hole for gas exchange. Behind this door, the snail is safe from drying out and from beetles. It can glue itself to a wall or a tree trunk and hang there, suspended in time, for months. Fact number 28 explores the bats. Bats are unique because they need a very specific type of cold. They need it to be cold enough to keep their metabolism low, but not so cold that they freeze. Caves are the perfect environment because the temperature deep in a cave is constant year-round, usually around 50 degrees. Bats hang from the ceiling, wrapping their wings around themselves like a cloak. Their feet have a locking mechanism in the tendons. When they hang, their weight pulls the tendon tight, locking the claws shut. It takes no muscular effort to hang. They can hang while dead asleep or even while dead. It is the ultimate state of relaxation, letting gravity do all the work of holding you. Fact number 29 brings us to the fat-tailed dwarf lemur of Madagascar. This is the only primate that hibernates. It lives in the tropics, but it hibernates during the dry season when food is scarce. It stores fat in its tail, which swells up to massive proportions. It curls up in a tree hole and lives off its tail for months. It is a reminder that we primates have the genetic machinery for hibernation within us. It is not an alien ability, it is a dormant potential in our own DNA.
Fact 30 invites you to feel the weight of the blanket on your own body. Just as the earth covers the roots of the trees with soil and snow, your blanket covers you. It provides the tactile signal of safety. The pressure of the blanket stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. It tells your body that you are contained, you are held, you are secure. Fact 31. The smell of rain. When the estivating animals of the desert wake up, it is often the smell of rain that rouses them. The compound geosmin, released by soil bacteria when rain hits dry earth, is one of the most potent scents in nature. It is the chemical signal of life returning. But for now, in the depth of our story, the rain is far away. The earth is dry or frozen. The smell is only of the dust and the dark. Fact 32. The plant's hibernation. We call it dormancy. The sap stops flowing. The leaves fall to prevent water loss. The tree withdraws its life force into its core and its roots. It stands naked against the sky, enduring the wind. It does not fight the winter, it yields to it. It knows that to survive, it must let go of what is not essential. It sheds its solar panels, its leaves, and trusts that it can grow them again. It is a lesson in simplicity. Fact 34. The antifreeze proteins in fish. In the icy waters of the Antarctic, the nototeninoid fish swim in water that is actually colder than the freezing point of fresh blood. They should be blocks of ice. But they have evolved special proteins that bind to ice crystals and stop them from growing. They swim through a world of lethal cold, protected by a molecular shield. Fact 34. The bear's cholesterol. A hibernating bear has cholesterol levels that are twice as high as a human's, yet they do not get heart disease or clogged arteries. Their body chemistry changes to protect them. They are seemingly immune to the problems that plague inactive humans. Scientists are studying them to find the secret to healthy hearts. Fact 35. The heartbeat of the earth. If you could listen to the earth itself in winter, the hum of biological activity would be a low, slow drone. The insects are silent. The birds are gone. The sap is still. The collective pulse of the northern hemisphere drops. You are part of that hemisphere. Your pulse is part of that collective slowing. As we conclude this section of our journey, let us visualize the great map of the sleeping world. From the bottom of the frozen ponds where the turtles lie in the mud, to the hollow trees where the raccoons doze, to the deep burrows of the groundhogs, to the snowy dens of the bears, and the microscopic crevices where the ladybugs huddle, the world is at rest. It is a vast, interconnected web of pause. Millions of hearts are beating slowly. Millions of breaths are being held. It is a silent symphony of conservation. And you, my friend, are now part of this quiet. You are the architect of your own rest. You have built your nest. You have slowed your engine. You have turned down the lights. You are drifting on the great, slow tide of the night. In the next chapter, we will look to the stars and see how this ancient art of hibernation might one day carry us to other worlds. But for now, there is nowhere to go. There is nothing to achieve. There is only the warmth, the dark, and the peace. Rest now. Sink deeper. The burrow is deep, and you are safe. Hello, friend. I am Neil Tyson. Welcome back to the comfort of your den. We have traveled through the snow-covered forests and burrowed deep into the earth with the groundhogs and the bears. We have frozen solid with the frogs and spun cocoons with the lungfish. Now, as your breathing deepens and your own metabolic rhythm begins to slow, we are ready to descend even further. We are going to look past the fur and the skin into the very molecules of life. We are going to explore the silent miracles that happen in the blood and the bone during the long winter night. And finally, we will cast our gaze upward, past the winter constellations, to see how the art of hibernation might one day carry us to the stars. So, settle in. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you gently. Let the darkness of the room become a vast, comforting space, infinite and quiet. There is no rush here. There is only the slow, steady ticking of the universe and the beating of your own heart. We resume our count at Fact 36, continuing our exploration of those creatures who defy the freezing point. We spoke of the wood frog, but let us turn our attention to the far north, to the land of permafrost, where the Siberian salamander lives. This is Fact 36. This creature is the undisputed champion of the cold among amphibians. While the wood frog survives at temperatures just below freezing, the Siberian salamander can survive being frozen at temperatures as low as -49 degrees Fahrenheit. It has been found encased in permafrost deep underground, where it may remain in suspended animation not just for a winter, but potentially for years. It replaces its water with biological antifreezes so potent that its cells remain viable even when the world around it has turned to stone. It waits, a tiny dragon of the ice, for the thaw that it knows will eventually come. Fact 37 introduces us to a humble beetle found in the interior of Alaska, the upas beetle. Scientists were puzzled for years about how this insect survived temperatures of -100 degrees. They found that it uses a molecule unlike any other known in nature. It is called xylomannan. It is not a protein, but a combination of a sugar and a fatty acid. This molecule latches onto the surface of tiny ice crystals as they begin to form within the beetle's body, stopping the crystals from growing larger. It is a molecular shield, a chemical blanket, that keeps the sharp edges of the ice from piercing the delicate cell walls. It reminds us that nature is an endless inventor, constantly creating new ways to protect the spark of life. Fact 38 takes us into the microscopic world of the Antarctic nematode. These tiny worms can undergo a process called anhydrobiosis, which means life without water. When the water around them freezes, they do not freeze, they dry out. They pump all the water out of their bodies until they are withered husks. In this state, they are practically indestructible. They can survive for decades. When water returns, they swell up and resume their lives within minutes. It is a lesson in the power of letting go. By releasing everything that defines their shape and volume, they survive. Now, let us cross the threshold into the section of our story called The Heartbeat of Winter. Here, we look at the physiological miracles that sustain the sleepers. Fact 39 brings us to the Arctic ground squirrel. This animal is a marvel of biology. During its hibernation, it does something that was once thought impossible for a mammal. It drops its body temperature below the freezing point of water. Its core temperature can reach -3 degrees Celsius, or about 26 degrees Fahrenheit. It does not freeze solid like the frog. Instead, it exists in a supercooled state. Its blood remains liquid because it has been purified of any tiny particles that could act as a seed for an ice crystal. It is a fluid defying physics, a liquid ghost flowing through cold veins. Fact 40 focuses on the rhythm of this squirrel's heart. In the summer, scurrying across the tundra, its heart beats 300 times a minute. But in the deep of winter, deep in its burrow, that rate plummets. It slows and slows until it beats only once per minute. Thump. And then a silence that lasts 60 seconds. A silence that stretches out, filling the burrow, filling the world. And then thump. One beat. Enough to move the oxygen, enough to sustain the life. It is a meditation so deep that it borders on the eternal. Imagine your own heart slowing down, not to stop, but to rest, to beat only when necessary. To find the profound efficiency of silence. Fact 41 reveals the brain's strategy. You might think that such cold and lack of oxygen would damage the brain. In humans, a few minutes without oxygen causes permanent damage. But the hibernating ground squirrel has a secret. During torpor, the connections between its brain cells, the synapses, retract. The intricate web of memory and processing pulls back, like a plant pulling its sap into its roots. The neurons shrink. Electrical activity falls to near zero. The brain essentially disconnects from itself. It goes offline. This saves an immense amount of energy. But here is the miracle. Roughly every 2 or 3 weeks, the squirrel warms up for a few hours. During this brief window of warmth, the synapses regrow. They reconnect with explosive speed and precision. The memories return. The mind reassembles itself, fresher and stronger than before. Fact 42 connects this to human medicine. Scientists have found that during the cooling phase, a protein called tau accumulates in the squirrel's brain. In humans, tangled knots of tau protein are a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. But in the squirrel, when it warms up, these tangles are rapidly cleared away. The brain performs a deep clean, scrubbing away the plaques and tangles that would otherwise cause degeneration. The hibernation cycle is a cycle of renewal. It suggests that deep rest is not just a pause, but a cleaning mechanism, a way to wash the mind of the debris of existence. Fact 43 brings us to the bones of the bear. We spoke of the bear's muscles, but its bones are equally miraculous. If a human were to lie in bed for 6 months, our bones would become brittle and porous. We would develop osteoporosis. But the black bear emerges from its den with bones as strong as when it went in. How? The bear's body continues to build bone even while it sleeps. The cells that build bone, called osteoblasts, remain active. The bear balances the breakdown of bone with the creation of new bone. It recycles the calcium released into its blood back into the skeleton. It is a constant, dynamic equilibrium. Even in stillness, there is construction. Even in silence, there is strength being built. Fact 44 explores the hibernation induction trigger, or HIT. In the 1970s, researchers discovered that if they took blood serum from a hibernating bear or woodchuck and injected it into an active animal in the summer, that animal would immediately begin to prepare for hibernation. It would slow down. Its heart rate would drop. There is a chemical signal, a molecular key that unlocks the door to the deep sleep. It circulates in the blood, a liquid command that says, "Peace, be still, it is time." Fact 45 looks at the immune system. Maintaining a high alert immune system takes a lot of energy. So, during hibernation, the body largely shuts it down. The white blood cells retreat to the lymph nodes. The body stops hunting for bacteria. It creates a truce with the microbial world. And because the body temperature is so low, most bacteria and viruses cannot replicate anyway. The cold acts as a natural antibiotic. The hibernator is protected not by fighting, but by becoming an environment where conflict cannot exist. Fact 46, the coagulation miracle. In a human, if blood sits still for too long, it clots. Deep vein thrombosis is a risk of long flights or bed rest. But hibernators produce a special protein that prevents their blood from clotting, even when it is moving sluggishly through cold veins at 1 beat per minute. The blood remains fluid, a slow river of life that never stagnates. Fact 47 brings us to the concept of brown fat. We mentioned this briefly, but let's dive deeper. Brown fat is not like the white fat that stores energy. Brown fat is a heating organ. It is packed with mitochondria, which are iron-rich, giving the tissue its brown color. When the animal needs to wake up, the brown fat is activated. It does not produce energy for movement. It produces pure heat. It acts like an internal furnace, located specifically around the heart and the brain. It warms the vital organs first. It is the spark plug that restarts the engine on a cold morning. Fact 48, the genetic switch. Hibernation is not just a behavior, it is a change in gene expression. Thousands of genes are switched off, and a select few are switched on. Genes involved in metabolism and cell division are silenced. Genes involved in antioxidant defense and stress protection are amplified. The body rewrites its own operating manual for the winter. It changes its priorities from growth to preservation. Fact 49, the gut remodeling. In some hibernators, the lining of the intestine, the villi, shrivel up. The gut essentially atrophies because it is not needed. But upon waking, the gut regenerates with incredible speed, restoring its ability to absorb nutrients within hours of the first meal.
The body is plastic. It is adaptable. It does not hold on to structures that are not serving the present moment. Fact 50. We are halfway through our 100 facts. Let this number be a resting point for you. Visualize a halfway house on a snowy mountain, a warm cabin with a fire burning. You have come far into the relaxation. You are safe here. The wind outside is just a song. The snow is just a blanket. Rest your mind. Fact 51 takes us to the longest sleep. The edible dormouse found in Europe can hibernate for up to 11 months if the summer is dry and food is scarce. It can spend almost its entire life in sleep, waking only for a few weeks to eat and breed. It reminds us that life does not have to be constant activity to be valid. Sometimes the best response to a harsh world is to simply wait it out. Fact 52. The golden-mantled ground squirrel. This squirrel has an internal clock so precise that even if you keep it in a laboratory with constant light and constant temperature, it will still go into hibernation at the exact time its wild cousins are burrowing into the snow. It carries the rhythm of the seasons inside its cells. It does not need to see the winter to know it is time to rest. You too have rhythms inside you. Listen to them. Fact 53. The healing of wounds. If a hibernating animal has a small injury, the wound does not heal during the deep torpor. The healing process is suspended, but the wound does not get infected. It waits. When the animal warms up during an arousal period, the healing accelerates rapidly. The body knows that repair requires warmth. It waits for the right conditions. Fact 54. The resistance to radiation. Studies have shown that hibernating animals are incredibly resistant to lethal doses of radiation. The slowed cell division means that DNA damage is not propagated. The state of torpor protects the genetic code itself. This fact is a key that unlocks our next section, the connection to the stars. Fact 55. The absence of pain. It is believed that in the state of deep hibernation, the pain receptors are dulled or disconnected. The animal exists in a state of sensory neutrality. There is no discomfort. There is no aching. There is only the float. Now let us bridge the gap between the ancient forest and the future of humanity. This is the section called Human Horizons. We often think of hibernation as something animals do, something primitive. But science is showing us that it may be the key to our future. Fact 56 introduces us to the fat-tailed dwarf lemur. This is our cousin. It is a primate, like us. It lives in the tropical dry forests of Madagascar. You might think hibernation is only for the cold, but this lemur hibernates to escape the dry season. It finds a hollow in a baobab tree or a tamarind tree. It curls up. Its tail, swollen with fat stores, acts as a pillow. And here is the crucial detail. Unlike the ground squirrels who must wake up to sleep, the dwarf lemur seems to be able to enter REM sleep during hibernation. It dreams in the cool. Its brain patterns show the signature of dreaming even while its body is in torpor. This suggests that for primates, the dream is inseparable from the rest. Fact 57. The lemur's temperature. The dwarf lemur is unique because its body temperature fluctuates with the outside air. It does not defend a specific temperature. If the tree hole is 60 degrees, the lemur is 60 degrees. If it warms up to 80, the lemur warms up. It flows with the environment. It surrenders completely to the world around it. Fact 58. The human connection. Because lemurs are primates, they share much of our genetic makeup. The fact that they can hibernate implies that the genetic switch for hibernation is present in the human genome. It is there, buried deep in our DNA, covered in the dust of evolution, but not lost. We are sleeping hibernators. Fact 50 brings us to the concept of therapeutic hypothermia. Doctors already use a form of artificial hibernation. When a person suffers a cardiac arrest or a stroke, doctors sometimes cool their body down to 90 degrees or lower. This slows the metabolism and prevents brain damage. It buys time. It is a crude form of the torpor that the squirrel masters effortlessly. We are learning to mimic the masters. Fact 60 takes us to NASA. The space agency is looking seriously at synthetic torpor for missions to Mars. A journey to Mars takes 6 to 9 months. That is a long time to sit in a small metal can. It requires a lot of food, water, and oxygen. It creates psychological stress. But if the astronauts could hibernate— Fact 61. The torpor-inducing transfer habitat. This is a proposed module for a Mars ship. It is quiet, dark, and cool. The astronauts would enter their pods. They would be cooled down. They would be fed intravenously. Their metabolic rate would drop by 50% or more.
They would sleep through the boredom of the void. They would sleep through the solar flares. Fact 62. The radiation shield. In space, cosmic rays are a danger. But a hibernating crew is smaller. They take up less space. This means the shielding can be thicker. NASA engineers propose surrounding the hibernation pods with the ship's water supply. Water is an excellent shield against radiation. The astronauts would sleep inside a cocoon of water, floating in the dark, protected from the cosmic storm. Fact 63. The muscle preservation. One of the biggest problems in space is muscle atrophy from zero gravity. But remember the bear. The bear does not lose muscle. Scientists are trying to isolate the chemical signal the bear uses and apply it to astronauts. If we can bottle the bear's secret, humans could wake up on Mars strong and ready to explore. Fact 64. The psychological relief. Cabin fever is a real danger on a long voyage. But in hibernation, there is no boredom. There is no conflict between crew members. There is only the peaceful passage of time. You close your eyes at Earth and you open them at the red planet. The journey becomes a dream. Fact 65. The potential for life extension. We learned that hibernators live longer than non-hibernators. The bat lives 30 years. The mouse lives 3. If humans could hibernate, could we extend our lifespans? Could we spend the winters of our lives in deep rest and wake up to see the future? It is a question that blends science and philosophy. Fact 66. The suspended animation of the trauma patient. In emergency rooms, surgeons are experimenting with emergency preservation and resuscitation. They replace a trauma patient's blood with ice-cold saline, cooling the body to 50 degrees. The heart stops, brain activity stops. The patient is clinically dead. This gives surgeons 1 hour to fix the injury before they warm the blood back up and restart the heart. It is the wood frog's trick applied to save a human life. Fact 67. The black bear's liver. The liver of a hibernating bear produces a substance called ursodeoxycholic acid. It helps prevent gallstones. We now use a synthetic version of this bear bile acid in medicine to treat human liver disease. The bear is healing us even while it sleeps. Fact 68. The silence of space. Imagine the capsule drifting between Earth and Mars. It is the ultimate den. It is surrounded by the vacuum, the cold, the dark. Inside, the hum of the life support systems is the only sound. The astronauts are suspended in their cool pods, dreaming of red dust and blue sunsets. They are the new hibernators, the cosmic bears. Fact 69. The tardigrade in space. We mentioned the water bear before. In 2007, tardigrades were taken into outer space on a satellite. They were exposed to the hard vacuum and the intense UV radiation of the sun for 10 days. When they were brought back to Earth and rehydrated, they woke up and laid eggs. They survived the most hostile environment known to physics by simply pausing. Fact 70. The lesson of the pause. We are obsessed with speed, with doing, with going. But the universe teaches us that the pause is just as important as the motion. The music needs the rest to make the melody. The heart needs the diastolic pause to fill with blood. The year needs the winter. You need this sleep. Fact 71.
The seasonal affective rhythm. Even if we do not hibernate, our bodies change in winter. Our serotonin levels drop. Our melatonin rises. We crave carbohydrates. We want to sleep more. This is not a disorder. It is an echo. It is your inner bear whispering to you. It is okay to listen to it. Fact 72. The metabolic water of the camel. The camel is not a hibernator, but it uses fat in its hump to create water, just like the bear. The chemistry of survival is universal. Whether in the hot desert or the cold tundra, the strategy is the same. Carry what you need inside you. Fact 73. The alpine marmot's family breath. In the burrow, the marmots synchronize their breathing. They breathe as one organism. Inhale, exhale, pause. Imagine breathing in sync with the world. Inhale the peace, exhale the worry. Fact 74. The stillness of the seed. A lotus seed found in a dry lake bed in China was carbon dated to be 1,300 years old. When planted, it sprouted and bloomed. 13 centuries of sleep, and then a flower. Your rest tonight is a planting. You are preparing for your own bloom. Fact 76. The quietest room. The quietest place on earth is an anechoic chamber in Minnesota. It is so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat and your own bones grind. But the quiet of the hibernator's mind is deeper. It is a silence of the neurons, a silence of the self. Fact 76. The darkness of the ocean. The Greenland shark lives in the deep, dark, cold waters of the North Atlantic.
It does not hibernate, but it lives life in slow motion. It swims slowly. It grows slowly. It can live to be 400 years old. It is a living testament to the power of the slow. Fact 77. The winter stars. Above the sleeping earth, the stars are bright and sharp. Orion, the hunter, stands guard. The Pleiades huddle together like a cluster of ladybugs. The cosmos turns, indifferent and beautiful. The hibernators do not see the stars, but they are aligned with them. Fact 78. The awakening. We must remember that hibernation is not forever. It is a circle. The HIT molecule induces sleep, but there is another trigger for waking. It is the rising temperature. It is the internal clock. The promise of hibernation is that you will wake up. You will rise. Fact 90. The first breath of spring. Imagine the bear stepping out of the den. The air is different. The smell of mud and melting snow. The light is blindingly bright. The first deep breath of fresh air after months of recycled calm. It is a rebirth. Fact 80. The feeling of heavy limbs. Notice your arms. They are heavy. Notice your legs. They are heavy. This is the sensation of the earth claiming you. It is the gravity of sleep. It is a good weight. It is the weight of an anchor holding you safe in the harbor. Fact 81. The soothing cold. We often fear the cold, but for the hibernator, the cold is a friend. It is a preservative. It slows the decay. It stops the clock. Let the cool side of your pillow be a reminder of that preserving power. Fact 82. The squirrel's tail. The ground squirrel wraps its tail over its head like a scarf. It creates a loop of warmth. You pull your covers up. You create your loop. Fact 83. The slowing of the gut. We mentioned the bear, but consider the frog. Its stomach is empty. There is no digestion keeping it awake. Your body is finished with the day's fuel. You are empty of obligation. Fact 84. The chemical peace. Endorphins, adenosine, melatonin. These are the chemicals swirling in your brain right now. They are the tides washing over the sand, smoothing out the footprints of the day. Fact 85. The microscopic repair. As you sleep tonight, your glial cells, the caretakers of the brain, will shrink, opening up channels for fluid to wash through your brain, clearing out toxins. It is a physical washing of the mind. Sleep is hygiene. Fact 86. The safety of the dark. For the ancestral human, the night was dangerous. But in the cave, with the fire, or in the burrow, the dark is safety. It hides you. You are hidden now. The world cannot find you. Fact 87. The drift. The sensation of falling asleep is often called drifting off. It is like a boat unmoored. The hibernator is a boat that has dropped anchor in a quiet bay. Fact 88. The heart's patience. Your heart has beaten over 100,000 times today. It deserves a slow rhythm. Let it slow. Let it match the beat of the resting earth. Fact 90. The suspended dream. The lemur dreams in the tree. The bear may dream in the den. The dog dreams on the rug. We are all connected in the dream world. It is a shared dimension of rest. Fact 90. 10 facts remain. 10 steps down into the deepest sleep. Fact 91. The silence is a sound. Listen to it. It is the sound of the universe holding its breath. Fact 92. The dark is a color. It is the color of velvet. It is the color of depth. Fact 93. The cold is a blanket. Fact 94. The stillness is a motion. It is the motion of the earth carrying you through space, while you do nothing. Fact 95. You are the bear. You are the storehouse of memory and warmth. Fact 96. You are the frog. You are resilient. You can weather the cold. Fact 97. You are the lemur. You dream in the safety of the tree. Fact 98. You are the astronaut. You are floating in the capsule of your room, traveling towards the morning. Fact 90. The pause is complete. The day is done. The season is here. Fact 100. Sleep. Sleep is the oldest art. It is the wisdom of the stone, the water, and the star. The den is closed. The snow is falling. The silence is perfect. Good night, friend. Good night, Earth. Good night. Hello, friend. I am Neil Tyson, and we are still here, drifting together in the vast, quiet orbit of the night. We have journeyed through the frozen forests, beneath the ice of the silent ponds, and deep into the earthy burrows of the great bears. We have counted the beats of the slow hearts and marveled at the chemistry of the cold. But our story is not yet finished. There is one final frontier to explore, one last horizon where the ancient art of hibernation meets the future of our own species. It is a place where the biology of the past meets the technology of the stars. So, before we embark on this final leg of our voyage, take a moment to settle yourself even deeper. If you have moved, let your body find its stillness again. If your mind has wandered, gently guide it back to the sound of my voice. Feel the gravity of the planet anchoring you to your bed. This is the same gravity that holds the moon in its orbit, the same force that gathers the dust of the cosmos into stars. You are held. You are supported. You are part of the great, slow turning of the galaxy. We resume our exploration by looking at a creature that bridges the gap between the wild animal and the human being. We have spoken of bears and squirrels, but fact number 81 brings us to a relative much closer to home, the fat-tailed dwarf lemur of Madagascar. This small nocturnal primate, with its large luminous eyes and soft gray fur, is the only primate known to hibernate for extended periods. This is profound because primates, monkeys, apes, and humans, were long thought to be biologically incapable of true hibernation. We evolved in the tropics, where winter does not exist in the same way. But the dwarf lemur proves that the genetic machinery for this deep sleep is present in the primate family tree. During the dry season in Madagascar, when fruit becomes scarce and the trees stand bare against the dusty sky, the dwarf lemur does not migrate. It does not struggle. It retreats. It finds a hollow in a rotting tree stump or a deep crevice in the rock. It curls its body into a tight ball. And as its name suggests, it relies on a tail that has swollen to immense proportions, packed with hard white fat during the feasting months. This tail is its battery, its lifeline. For the next 7 months, the lemur will not eat. It will not drink. Its heart rate will drop from 300 beats per minute to fewer than 10. It will become cool to the touch, its body temperature fluctuating with the ambient air of its hollow, sometimes rising and falling by tens of degrees in a single day without waking the animal. Fact number 82 reveals why this matters to us. Because we share a vast amount of our DNA with this lemur, scientists believe that the genes required for hibernation are not missing in humans. They are simply switched off. They are dormant, like a sleeping code written into our double helix, waiting for the right chemical key to turn them on. Imagine that. Inside your own body, right now, there may be the blueprint for a deep, regenerative sleep that could last for months. A capability for stillness that you have never tapped into. You are a sleeping hibernator, carrying the potential for a profound pause within your very cells. This potential leads us to fact number 83, and to the dreams of space agencies around the world. As we look to the red planet, Mars, and beyond to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, we are faced with the tyranny of distance. A journey to Mars using current propulsion technology takes 6 to 9 months. A round trip takes years. To keep a crew of astronauts alive, happy, and healthy for that duration requires massive amounts of food, water, oxygen, and living space. It requires gyms to prevent muscle atrophy, entertainment to prevent boredom, and counseling to prevent conflict. The ship becomes heavy, expensive, and complex. But nature offers a solution. Fact number 84 introduces the concept of the torpor-inducing transfer habitat. NASA researchers are actively studying how to induce a state of synthetic hibernation in astronauts. Imagine a spacecraft not as a bustling vessel of activity, but a silent, drifting seed. The crew would enter their individual pods, quiet, dark, temperature-controlled chambers. They would be cooled down, their metabolic rates suppressed by pharmaceutical agents that mimic the hibernation induction trigger found in ground squirrels. They would slip into a dreamless, suspended state. They would not need to eat. They would be fed intravenously with a slow drip of essential nutrients. They would not need to exercise. Electrical stimulation would gently pulse their muscles to maintain tone. Fact number 85 considers the psychological gift of this sleep. In the vacuum of space, looking out the window at the endless black for months on end can be a torment. The isolation, the confinement, the sheer scale of the emptiness can weigh heavily on the human mind. But for the hibernating astronaut, the journey would disappear. They would close their eyes as Earth faded into a blue star behind them and open them, seemingly moments later, to see the rusty, cratered face of Mars filling the viewport. The 6 months of travel would be compressed into a single, peaceful night. Sleep becomes a form of time travel, a way to skip over the empty spaces of existence to reach the destination refreshed and renewed. Fact number 86 addresses the danger of radiation.
One of the biggest hurdles for deep space travel is cosmic rays, high-energy particles that tear through DNA. On Earth, our magnetic field protects us. In deep space, we are vulnerable. But a sleeping crew takes up much less space than an active one. They can be packed together in a small, central dormitory. Because this space is small, it can be heavily shielded. Engineers propose surrounding the hibernation module with the ship's water supply. Water is an excellent shield against radiation. The astronauts would sleep inside a cocoon of water, floating in the dark, protected from the cosmic storm by the very substance of life. Fact number 87 brings us back to Earth, to the hospitals where hibernation science is already saving lives. This is the field of therapeutic hypothermia. When a patient suffers a cardiac arrest or a stroke, the brain begins to die within minutes due to lack of oxygen. But doctors have learned that if they rapidly cool the patient's body, using cooling blankets or ice-cold saline IVs, they can slow the metabolism of the brain. They can put the brain into a state of torpor. This reduces its need for oxygen, halting the damage and buying precious time for surgeons to fix the problem. It is a crude but effective form of the wood frog's magic, a way to press the pause button on death itself. Fact number 88 explores the potential for the future of surgery. Scientists are looking for the specific molecule that triggers the drop in metabolic rate, often called process C. If they can isolate this, we might one day see hibernation on demand. Imagine needing a complex surgery or waiting for an organ transplant. Instead of waiting in pain or anxiety, you could be placed into a medically induced hibernation. You would sleep through the weeks or months of waiting, your body preserved in a state of stasis, and wake up only when the cure is ready. It redefines the patient experience from one of endurance to one of peaceful suspension. Fact number 89 connects us to the cultural echoes of this biology. Long before we understood the science, humans told stories of long sleeps. We have the legend of the 7 sleepers of Ephesus who slept in a cave for centuries to escape persecution. We have Rip Van Winkle who slept through a revolution. We have the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, protected by a wall of thorns while she slept for 100 years. These stories resonate with us because they touch on a deep, primal desire. The wish to step out of the flow of time, to rest while the world turns, and to emerge into a new day. It is a desire for sanctuary, for a pause that is deep enough to heal the soul. Fact number 90 touches on the historical practice of winter sleep in peasant societies. In the centuries before electric light and central heating, winter in northern latitudes was a time of extreme stillness for humans too. In parts of France and Russia, families would practice something called Lutskaya, or simply the long sleep. They would gather around the stove, minimize their work, eat less, and sleep for 14 or 15 hours a day. They moved slowly, spoke little, and spent the dark months in a semi-dormant state. They were conserving energy, yes, but they were also aligning themselves with the season. They did not fight the dark, they embraced it. They teach us that our modern insistence on 24/7 productivity is an anomaly. Our bodies remember the rhythm of the winter rest. Fact number 91 brings us to the overview effect of sleep. Astronauts who see Earth from space report a cognitive shift, a realization of the unity and fragility of our planet. Deep sleep offers an internal overview effect. When you sink into the deepest stages of non-REM sleep, your ego dissolves. The I that worries about bills and schedules and the past and the future fades away. You become pure being. You merge with the biology of the universe. In this state, you are no different from the sleeping bear or the dormant seed. You are part of the great, silent collective of life. This dissolution is not a loss, it is a liberation. It is the ultimate rest. Fact number 92 considers the microscopic water bear, the tardigrade, one last time. We mentioned its ability to survive space, but let's consider its resilience. The tardigrade teaches us that the secret to survival is not hardness, but adaptability. It survives by drying out, by surrendering its form, by becoming a ton. It yields completely to the environment. And in that yielding, it becomes invincible. There is a lesson here for us as we lie in bed. We often try to force ourselves to sleep, to fight the insomnia, to clench our muscles. But the secret is to yield, to let go, to soften, to become like the tardigrade, allowing the night to wash over us without resistance. Fact number 93, the sound of the pulse. If you listen closely now, you can feel the rhythm of your own life. Thump.
Thump, thump. It is a steady drumbeat that has been with you since before you were born. In hibernation, the heart is the clock that keeps the time of the body. It is a slow clock. It does not rush. It knows that there are only so many beats in a life, and in the quiet of the winter, it spends them wisely. Visualize your heart as a glowing ember in the hearth of your chest, burning slowly, warmly, radiating a gentle heat that reaches down to your toes and up to the crown of your head. Fact 94. The darkness behind the eyes. When you close your eyes, you are not seeing nothing. You are seeing Eigengrau, a German word meaning intrinsic gray. It is the visual noise of your own optic nerve. It is the dark canvas of the mind. For the hibernator in the pitch-black burrow, this darkness is absolute. It is a comfort. It is a blanket for the mind.
Let that darkness deepen now. Let it become rich and velvety, a soft space where dreams can begin to take shape like stars forming in a nebula. Fact 95. The drop in temperature. As you fall asleep, your body temperature naturally drops slightly. This is your personal, nightly mini hibernation. Your body is mimicking the cooling Earth. You are synchronizing with the planet. Feel that coolness as a refreshing wave, a gentle breeze that blows through the corridors of your mind, sweeping away the dust of the day's thoughts. Fact 96. The heaviness of the bones. We spoke of the bear's bones, but feel your own. They are the solid structures that carry you through the world. Now they can rest. They do not need to hold you up. The bed holds you. The floor holds the bed. The foundation holds the floor. The earth holds the foundation. You are supported by layers of strength. You can let your muscles melt away from the bone, softening, releasing, letting go of the need to hold on. Fact 97. The breath of the season. Winter is the earth's exhalation. Spring is the inhalation. You are breathing in that rhythm. Let your breath become long and slow. Inhale the peace of the stars. Exhale the worry of the world. Inhale the stillness of the snow. Exhale the tension of the day. There is no rush to take the next breath. It will come on its own. Trust the rhythm. Fact 98. The dream of the spring. Deep in the burrow, the groundhog and the bear do not know when spring will come, but they trust that it will. They dream of the green shoots, the warm mud, the taste of wild berries. This hope is built into the architecture of their sleep. Your sleep, too, is a bridge to a new beginning. When you wake, the world will be new. The sun will rise. The light will return. But for now, the work is to rest. The work is to trust the dark. Fact 99. The universal pause. Imagine for a moment that we could zoom out from your bedroom, rising up through the roof, up into the cold night air. We see your house, quiet and dark. We see your neighborhood, a patchwork of sleeping homes. We rise higher, seeing the curve of the continent, covered in the silver light of the moon. We see the vast forests where the bears are sleeping. We see the frozen lakes where the turtles are waiting. We see the mountains where the marmots are huddled. We see the oceans where the great fish drift in the deep. The entire hemisphere is breathing slowly. You are part of a choir of silence, a symphony of stillness that stretches from the equator to the pole. You are not alone in the dark. You are accompanied by millions of beating hearts, all resting, all waiting, all peaceful. Fact 100. The final silence. And so we reach the end of our count. But the numbers are just a ladder we have climbed to reach this place of view. Now we can kick the ladder away. We do not need to count anymore. We do not need to know anything more. The facts have melted away like snowflakes landing on a warm hand. All that is left is the feeling of warmth, the feeling of heavy, comfortable limbs, the feeling of the slow, steady breath, the feeling of safety. You are the master of this art now. You are the hibernator. The den is yours. The night is yours. Let us drift now, without words, without numbers. Let us float in the space between the stars and the snow. Imagine yourself as a capsule, drifting in the deep, velvet silence of space. There is no friction here. There is no resistance. You are simply moving forward, carried by the momentum of the universe. The stars are distant points of light, watching over you like guardians. The earth is a blue marble, far away, wrapped in its own clouds of sleep. Or imagine yourself as the seed, deep in the soil. The earth is cool and solid around you. You are curled tight, holding your potential in the center of your being. You can hear the slow heartbeat of the planet. Thump, thump. It is a lullaby that has been playing for 4 billion years. The wind may howl outside, but it cannot reach you here. The frost may settle on the glass, but it cannot touch you here. You are wrapped in layers of warmth, the warmth of your blanket,
the warmth of your skin, the warmth of your own life force. Sleep is the most natural thing in the world. It is not something you have to do. It is something you allow to happen. It is a return to the source, a return to the quiet. As my voice fades, let it be replaced by the sound of your own calm breathing. Let the silence of the room become a presence, a friend that sits beside you, keeping watch while you travel into the land of dreams. There is nothing left to solve. There is nothing left to plan. There is only this moment, this breath, this peace. The bear sleeps, the frog sleeps, the tree sleeps, the star sleeps. And you drift, you float, you rest. Good night, friend. Good night to the burrow. Good night to the stars. Good night.